So we are recording this meeting. We have 10 people, I believe, total. And I see most of us have been here before, but I see Dawn Jordan is joined us, and she's from the town of Bern, New York. We did a report recently regarding Bern, New York. So it's nice to see folks from down there join us.
And thank you very much for that report, by the way. We really appreciated it.
Great. Hopefully it'll make a difference.
I hope so.
So why don't we start out? Hopefully everybody has the packet that was emailed out. So the first item of business are the meeting minutes from December 10th. And we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from someone.
I'll move. Janet will move to accept the minutes and approve.
All right.
I'll second.
Second by Maria. Any questions or discussion regarding the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So next item is amendment of our bylaws. So tonight we have bylaws to amend and officers and board people to elect. So when we first started this group back in 2018, which is hard to believe now, it was the Buffalo Niagara Coalition for Open Government, and it was people from Erie and Niagara County. And we had two vice president positions. One was a vice president for Erie County, one was a vice president for Niagara County. But in January of 2020, we changed our name to the New York Coalition. We went statewide. And so we probably don't need two vice president positions anymore. And it's kind of worked out that Richard Bertrand, one of the vice presidents, is not seeking reappointment to the board. So it seemed like a good time maybe to fix that in our bylaws by just deleting the reference to the second vice president and just having one vice president. So in the bylaw that I sent out, the changes are highlighted. It's only, I think, a section on page 8 and 9 where we're changing.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions about that change? If not, somebody can make a motion to amend the bylaws to change them so that we have one vice president.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Somebody's phone is going off in the background.
Yep.
All right, so Larry's making a motion to change the bylaws.
Accept the changes in the bylaws to reduce down to one vice president.
Is there a second to that?
Specified.
I'll second that.
All right, second by Maria. Any questions or discussion regarding that? If not, all those in favor of changing the bylaws, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
There's one slight change in the last sentence of vice president, and it's on page 6
9.
or 9, whatever.
9, yeah.
And
Section 5.
and it's on section 5, and it says the vice presidents, plural, shall perform, and it should be the vice president, singular.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
That's
So
all. It was just, it's a minor thing, but
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. I'll make that change.
okay. So the S should be taken out.
And
Sure.
also on page 8, under officers, vice presidents, omit the S.
Page
Section 1.
Page 8 under officers.
Section 1.
Now, are you talking about my handwritten page 8 or the bylaws page 8?
No, your handwritten 8.
Oh, okay, got ya. Where it says officers, yep, I see it.
Okay.
All right, so I will make those corrections. So the bylaw change passed. And then the next item of business is board elections. So right now we have a 9-member board. Our bylaws allow us to have up to a 15-member board. And we're going to expand our board by 2 to make it an 11-member board tonight. But first, let's deal with the, maybe I should do it the opposite way. I was going to do the officers first, but maybe I should fill the board seats first.
Right.
So for the board seats, we have one vacancy due to Richard Bertrand not seeking re-election. And we have 3 other folks that have expressed interest in serving on the board, and that's Steve Lyle. I can't believe it. He's finally agreed to serve. He's been attending our meetings for years and has always resisted joining. So maybe because he was sick when I talked to him, he was weak. I don't know. So Steve Lyle, Alberta Roman, and Suzanne Kelly have expressed interest in joining our board. So what we could do is we could do it all in one full swoop. Someone make a motion to appoint all 3 to the board. We could do it one at a time. However, someone wants to make a motion.
I think we should make a motion to accept all 3 candidates.
All right, motion by Maria to nominate Steve, Alberta, and Suzanne to the board. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
All right, we got Janet as a second to that. So I don't know. I guess we don't need to hear statements from people. I guess we'll just be done with this. And all those in favor of appointing Steve Lyle, Alberta Roman, and Suzanne Kelly to the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So it's great to have some new faces. All have been attending our meetings and helping out. So let's go on to officer positions. We have President, myself, Paul Wolf, seeking to be reelected again. Vice President Ed McKee, also seeking reelection. Secretary Joe Kissel, who couldn't join us tonight, seeking reelection. And Treasurer Janet Vito, seeking reelection. So this is a democracy. If you are a board member and you're interested in serving in one of those positions, you certainly can nominate yourself or have someone nominate you. Same thing, we could do this all as one slate of officers, or we can do it position by position. So whoever wants to make a motion.
I move we accept the whole slate.
All right, motion by Steve to nominate those 4 officers by slate. Is there a second?
I think it's wonderful, so here's my second.
All right, seconded by Maria. Any other questions, discussions, or any other nominations, I guess? If not, all those in favor of electing that slate, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So we got that taken care of, and in next January we'll have another half. It's kind of half of the board is up in odd years and half of the board is up in even years. So we'll do this again next January. So next item of business is the treasurer's report, which is page 14 through 17 of your agenda packet. And I'll turn it over to Janet.
Well, we had a good year, 2020, in spite of the situation everybody had to deal with. And thanks to all our wonderful members for staying with it, and very successful. For the year, we had, let's see, 21 paid members.
All right.
Got a new member who
you
wants to
gotta
join?
mute yourself, Maria.
I'm trying to get off the call. I pre-warned you. Okay. Sarah,
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. 21 paid members. And we began our year with a balance of $1,081.78. And we ended our year with an income of $2,256.78 total. Total expenses were $898.86. And it leaves us an ending balance of $1,357.78 for the year of 2020.
All right, we didn't spend much money this year, that's for sure.
No, and actually one got refunded, the one we did spend it on.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So
Any,
there's just a synopsis of everything that we did for the year. It's a year-end report, and it gives you all the balances, dues collected, income, and expenses for the entire year of 2020.
thank you for putting that together. Any questions on the treasurer's report? If not, someone want to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to approve my wife's treasurer's report.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Hobby and Steve.
And I do have to look into, as a nonprofit, there is a easy tax form we're supposed to file. And I went to the IRS website and they said it was going to be down for a week because they were doing maintenance on it or something. So I couldn't access it, but I will get back to that. So next up on our agenda is our Niagara County lawsuit. And we have our attorney, Mike Higgins, with us. For those of us who may not be familiar with it, we sued Niagara County over our FOIL request that we submitted to obtain financial disclosure forms of elected officials. Those are public records, but Niagara County refused to give them to us. And in fact, they have a strange local law that says their records are secret. And we knew that was a violation of the Freedom of Information law. We filed a lawsuit and we won, thanks to the great work of Mike Higgins and the UB Law School. So the judge has signed the order, but we're not out of the woods yet. We still have some other stuff going on, so I'll turn it over to Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'm happy to be back with you all and talk a little bit about this lawsuit. I guess I'll just note that, we're recording this, so if we want to talk strategy, let's do that at another time. I'm just going to talk about sort of what is public knowledge, basically. So we won the lawsuit, but not all is resolved, as Paul noted, because the county has yet to comply with the court's order. So the court ordered the county to give us all the records by December 22nd. They didn't do that. They didn't respond to any of my phone calls or letters or anything like that. So I filed something called a contempt motion, asking that the court hold Niagara County in contempt, which is basically to punish them. And they can do that in a couple of ways. They can award us additional attorney's fees. They can fine them. And they can just order them to actually do what they were supposed to do. So I filed that contempt motion. They responded to the contempt motion saying basically that they've been busy. And that's why they didn't get around to giving us the records. I don't doubt that they're busy, although I think it shows real contempt for the Freedom of Information law and the court's order to use that excuse. We filed this FOIL request in August of 2019. So we're going up on, a year and a half now that they've had to get these records together. So, we're going to have a hearing on the contempt motion on January 28th. If we don't resolve it sooner. The thing that the county wants to do now is to redact the records. They don't want us to see the one category in the records that they don't want us to see is something called categories of value. So when they report, something that they report is what they own, basically. Do they have investments in XYZ company? And then they select, they tell you how much it's worth. Like, is it worth $5,000 to $50,000, $50,000 to $100,000, whatever. They want to redact that category that says $5,000 to $50,000, $50,000 to $100,000. So they wrote why they think they should be able to do that. And that's basically where we stand. They want the court to rule on that and say whether or not they're allowed to do that, and then give us the records at some time when they're not busy. So we oppose that. We want the records immediately. We think we're entitled to them. We think we're entitled to the records immediately, unredacted. And also we asked for attorney's fees for the other work we've done in the case, and the court should rule on that at some point as well. So that's sort of where the lawsuit stands. I can answer like any questions you have about it, but I think if you want to make if you have like strategic questions, I think we should table those. I'm happy to answer those via email or through Paul or Steve.
Just any basis for those redactions, or they don't want anybody to know what they're doing?
They cite a number of cases that say that you can redact these financial disclosure forms. They're mostly old cases when there was a law that said that you could redact those forms. There's also an opinion by the New York Coalition, the New York Committee on Open Government, that says that maybe you can redact those things. So I don't think it's like a frivolous argument. I think it's rather annoying that we're having this fight now. I think that's our main objection to it, is that it's basically, an additional delay tactic. I mean, there must be something nice in them if they're fighting so hard to get them. We asked them for $18,000 in legal fees. I don't think we'll get all that. But, we asked for all of that, and that's how much work it took, or more, really. We didn't ask for every cent of the work that we did. So.
Any other questions for Mike?
Not
I
so
would
much,
like to, sorry.
Ed McKee here. Not so much as a question, just a observation. I just find it absolutely unbelievable that these things can get dragged out like this. It's just a shame. Since 2019, you would think some judge would say enough is enough. As I said, it's just an observation.
Yeah, not unique to your case. In fact, I'm litigating another case. We're going on 3.5 years on that one. So they are slow. It is a problem with the Freedom of Information law. The only real cudgel that the courts have is to charge the county's money for not doing their job by paying attorney's fees. So
let's hope that happens.
Yeah, we'll see. I didn't tell you this, Paul, but I did want to just float something for you all to ponder and discuss. My clinic has been asked to write an amicus brief in a different FOIL case. An amicus brief is just like it's called a friend of the court brief. It's something where you're not a party to the lawsuit, but you come and tell the court why you think their case is important and how they should decide it. And I've asked Reinvent Albany to be my client on that, and I'm also, seeking other clients who might be interested in it. So if it's okay with you, I'll tell you just briefly about the case.
Sure.
It's called Appellate Advocates against New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. That's the state agency that runs the parole board and the prisons and other things like that. And Appellate Advocates is a public defender. They requested training materials, how the parole board is trained, what they're told about what the law is. And they won that lawsuit at the lower level. But they lost with respect to a small set of documents, training documents drafted by their attorneys. And we think that those records should be public. And the reason that it's important that they're public is that agencies shouldn't be able to get to use their lawyers to hide information. If they have rules about how things work, we should all know what those rules are. FOIL tells us that. It has a specific section that says that agency rules are public information. But the position of docs is basically our lawyers wrote these rules, so we shouldn't have to tell anyone because they're special rules that the lawyers wrote. So I think that, that gives them an opportunity to basically turn most anything into a secret rule, and we should prevent that from happening. That's the basic point that we're trying to make in our brief. And I'm happy to send over materials, and you don't need to answer tonight whether or not you want to be a part of that. We still have some time to write it and everything, and I could send it to you to look at and discuss before you decided whether or not you wanted to sign on. But I guess I just wanted to pitch that idea to y'all to ponder. Sure,
that'd be great. What other projects you got coming up? Anything else?
Yeah, we're working on a few things. We're working with a group of investigative reporters on some information access work. They want to, they're looking at how prisons are run, basically. And so they want some information from prisons, which I think will be very difficult to get. So we're going to hopefully help them get that. We're working with a group of scientists on the Purdue opioid litigation. So, I don't know if any of you are following this, but Purdue Pharma is the company that made OxyContin, and they, what did they do? Well, they convinced all the doctors around the country to prescribe everyone OxyContin, and made and delivered more of it and advertised it in the way that people needed it, and exacerbated the opioid litigation. Well, now the opioid addiction of all the people in our communities. Well, now they're bankrupt because they are getting sued for causing that public health crisis, the opioid crisis. And they're part of these big lawsuits often is that the internal documents of these companies become public. So the historians I'm working with basically want those documents, and we're going to try and help them get those documents or make sure they're presented in a public way. So, those are our main projects on the docket right now. We're still working on this case. We got a couple others that we're continuing to wrap up. We're hopeful to get a decision on our jail suicides case, where Erie County jails were hiding all of their information about suicides in their local jails. So we're working on those things. We're on the hunt for affordable housing cases. My colleague Heather Abraham, who joined the clinic, is a civil rights litigator with a focus on fair housing. So if you know of people who are being discriminated against in their access to housing, we'd love to hear from them. So yeah, and always happy to hear about problems that you all identify or think would be valuable projects. I know Paul always has pretty good ideas that seem to percolate from this group, and I'm always happy to discuss those and think about whether or not the clinic can enhance any of your efforts.
All right, great. And then you got another semester of students starting too, right?
Yeah, so February 1st or so, we should have our new crop, and I think this semester will be up to 8 students, which is a bit of an expansion. So we'll have a little bit more staffing power, which will be good. And Yeah, you know, it's an exciting time. Oh, the other thing we're working on is a website about the repeal of 50A, which is, as you may know, is the law that used to keep police misconduct records secret. And now we're slowly but surely getting some of those records out into public, but it's been quite a fight. A lot of the police unions have filed lawsuits to try and stop the release of those documents. And we're hoping to kind of chronicle those efforts and explain the ways in which certain records are or are not available as the courts sort through all that problem.
All right, great. Thanks, Mike. Hopefully we can get you some money as well.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Always good to keep the program going.
All right.
Hey, keep the lights on. I'm gonna go help with bedtime though for my
All right.
little ones. So thanks for having me, and
Thanks. All right, so next item on our agenda is we did our FOIL training with the New York State Committee on Open Government, and reporter Steve Brown had like 90 some people register and 55 attended. So I'm not sure why so many people didn't attend unless, you know, things come up, but still we had 55 people participate, which was great. There were a lot of great questions, and we had, you know, a lot of town clerks from across the state and a lot of citizens from across the state. So it was a good mix. We had, you know, Kristin O'Neill from the State Committee on Open Government educating the clerks about what the law requires. And then we have Steve Brown, you know, giving people some tips and advice on when you do file a FOIL request of some of the things he does. So I thought overall it was pretty good. I got a lot of positive emails that people sent to me saying that it was helpful and thanks for doing this. And Joe Kissel posted the video of it. We do have a YouTube page that you can just, you know, search and find. And I know I sent the link to a couple people that missed the meeting. And the New York State Committee on Open Government themselves is now doing once a month. If you go to their website, 1 month they're doing a open meetings law training, and I think the next month a FOIL training. So they're going to be doing that on a regular basis, and that's something that everyone can sign up for. And we'll have to do some others ourselves throughout the year. So I don't know, any comments or questions about the training? I know some people here participated. It was a little choppy at times for Kristin O'Neill, but not too bad.
Yeah, well, that's just a technical problem. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah. But so we'll move on then to our next item, which is our calendar, which is page 18 and 19 of the packet. So for the past few years now, I've kind of put together this calendar month by month. It helps keep me on track, and I think all of us on track as to what the plan is for the year. Again, you know, for a group our size with no staff and no money, we put out more reports in 1 year than a lot of other groups do. But this year, the plan is we're going to do a report regarding school board executive sessions, our villages posting meeting minutes, our counties live streaming their meetings, and then do a FOIL to city councils for financial disclosure forms, and then a project on zoning and planning boards, whether they're posting meeting documents. So want to try to hit all different levels of local government, from city, town, county, and that's what we'll be able to do this year. And I think we've gotten better at doing these reports too. When we first started out doing these, we would evaluate 10 things, and it was a lot of work. And we got a lot of fights about whether some of our information was correct or not. Now I'm trying to make it easier on everybody, and the reports we do focus kind of on one thing. So, we're just focusing on executive sessions or meeting minutes or meeting documents. And I think that this just makes it easier for everybody. So this kind of lays it out for the coming year, for people to follow along as to what the plan is. Any questions on that? So the next item on our agenda then is our first report we're going to do is on school board executive sessions. And many of you have helped forward information to me. I have a rough draft of that. I got to, look it over. But right now, 60% of school districts get a failing grade out of the 20 that we took a look at. 60% and like at least I think 25% of them like get a 0. Like they haven't done a single executive session correctly. So I think it'll be a good attention getting report. And it's the typical same mistakes. We're going to go into executive session to discuss litigation or personnel. I mean, you got to be more specific than that. There's just a lot of bad habits out there and they think they're doing it right, but they're just not. So I think that report will be educational as well. And hopefully we can get people to change their ways. So next item is Sunshine Week. So every March, people may or may not be aware, across the country, the news media celebrates what's called Sunshine Week, and it's usually middle of March. So this year, I believe it's March 15th to March 21st. And you'll see like a lot of newspapers will do editorials in support of open government. Journalism schools and other places will have, meetings about it. It's just a great reminder for everyone how important open government is. So we try to do something that week to tie into that. And my thought is legislator Amy Paulin has introduced a couple bills at our request. And maybe we do some type of joint press conference with her. Where we send out a press release and we just have her come on, do it via Zoom and explain what these bills are that she's introduced. So I have communicated with her about that and she's interested in doing that. And I've encouraged her that maybe she can make it happen that some of her bills would get voted on during that week. So I don't know if that'll be possible or not. It looks like Maria's got to mute herself again.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what's happened.
So if anybody else has any thoughts or ideas for Sunshine Weeks, certainly send out an email or bring them up now. But that's kind of the thought now is to keep the focus on amending the open meetings law. Any comments on that? Quiet bunch.
Paul, I'm sorry. Would you repeat that? I didn't catch that. What did you say?
So that's the plan is to, do something with legislator Paulin that week, unless people have some other thoughts or ideas, certainly feel free to bring them up either now or in an email. So it would be great if she could get the legislature to actually vote on some of these bills during Sunshine Week, which maybe would motivate them as legislators to grab a headline and, hey, look at what we've done during Sunshine Week. So I don't know if that's possible, but I suggested that to her that might be a great way to maybe make some of these bills happen.
Paul,
Yeah.
on that, was some of that part of the the New York State Coalition one, their annual report? Did some of this go in there?
It did, and that's a good point. You can see, and I could probably send a link out to everybody too. The New York State Committee on Open Government every year does an annual report where they support changes in the law. And they did mention in their report that they were supportive of some of the bills that legislator Paulin has introduced about requiring meeting documents to be posted online. Right now, it's, well, if you can, as best you can. We want stronger language. And they also mentioned about financial disclosure forms being posted online. That'll hopefully be helpful too, to maybe get some more support in the legislature. So other than that, we're now on new business. If anybody has anything they want to bring up.
Well, Paul,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my apologies. If I can backtrack a little bit to the school report. And maybe you or someone here can help me out, because I have forgotten. Has the law been changed with respect to the school board elections so that they fall in November, or is it still going to be done in May? Does anybody know?
I know, I think the city of Buffalo, I can't recall if it was changed to do it in November, but otherwise I think they stay in May. It may have changed in Buffalo, but everywhere else I believe stays in May.
Okay, that's my thought too, but I wasn't 100% sure. The reason I'm asking is this report that's on the school boards, if it could be, that be the case, and kind of somewhat tie that in or present it at a time that might be going on, or the run up to when it might be going on, it might be better received, and maybe get some responses from some of the candidates.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do a press conference like the last week in January, and I think they typically start like circulating petitions in February or March for the election. So
yeah,
maybe the report could be something that gets brought up during the elections.
Well, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
Aren't the school board elections?
What's that?
Aren't the school board elections pretty much? Aren't the school board elections pretty much universally always in May for all the school districts? I thought that was like a rule or
Some
something.
places have been saying they should be moved to November because the turnout is so bad in May. So I
Okay,
think,
so Canton has always been in May.
Right.
It's always been our.
I think
that's correct.
I think the city of Buffalo may have changed it, but otherwise it's still May in most places. Anything else under new business?
No, I have a question though.
Sure.
In an organization, if they give out like an annual bonus, is that something that can be foiled?
Well, I don't know many public organizations that do bonuses, but any money that's paid to someone through tax dollars should certainly be foilable.
Mhm.
I've done the salaries, but I don't know if, and that is coming, the salaries for the organization. But I didn't know if an annual bonus that's given out, say in December, to the employees, if that was to be foiled.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Although, you know how tricky these people are, they may say, well, you asked for the salaries, we gave you the salaries, you didn't ask for bonuses. Bonuses are different.
That's why I'm gonna make it separate,
Right.
a separate foil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'll try.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure. Then on new business, with the New York State Committee on Open Government, I saw something that kind of caught my interest. I saw that the New York State Board of Regents, which the governor makes appointments to, and the legislature, that I saw a posting that they were soliciting applicants to serve on the New York State Regents Board, and that there would be a public interview process. And I thought, geez, that's kind of interesting. Why don't they do that for the New York State Committee on Open Government? Why don't we solicit applicants to, express their desire to serve on the committee, and why aren't those applicants interviewed in public? You know, it's always the governor appoints most of the board. There's one appointment from the state assembly and one appointment from the state senate. So I bounced that around with some of the other groups. You know, lately we've done a couple joint letters with like the League of Women Voters, Common Cause, Reinvent Albany, NYCOG. There's been a couple letters that we've all signed on jointly. So now I have all their emails, and I sent that out to them as an idea. Would you guys support a letter, maybe, advocating for this? And most places came back, said, yeah, it sounds like an interesting idea. But then Reinvent Albany said, I don't like that idea. And I said, well, why is that? Now, it's just going to be a sham interview, which is probably true. They're still going to pick whoever they want to pick, and it's just going to be window dressing. If you really want to make a change at the New York State Committee on Open Government, you need to change how the board is structured. And I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, it's an 11-member board. Governor Cuomo controls 9 of the appointments. And why is that? And if you want to make a change, it should be the state comptroller should get appointments, the state attorney general should get appointments. You know, why, and lessen the influence that the governor has, because as we know, the most recent executive director was completely picked by the governor behind closed doors. It was outrageous that the New York State Committee on Open Government didn't have interviews, It was all done behind closed doors. And I thought, well, all right, well, I'm always open to thoughts and ideas. Then maybe, so just today I sent out another email saying, maybe we should hold off on sending this letter out. What do people think about advocating for changing how the board is appointed? So I'm waiting to hear back whether people have any interest in that or not. But I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you posted on that, and I never sign on to any letters without first, sending it out to everyone to look at. So we'll see.
Paul?
Yeah,
Well, Paul, I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
As long as, I know this technically doesn't fall under new business, but it seems this is always a good time to kind of brainstorm a little. And regarding the water authority, your association with it, everything running fairly well, continuing there, or any kind of comments you care to make about that?
Yeah, good point. About 2 years ago, we sent out a report that was critical of the water authority, but then we also recognized the water authority that they've made some actually positive changes. They post their meeting documents and agenda a week before their meeting. No one else does it a week before their meeting. They have become much more open about responding to FOIL requests and posting information. So they really have kind of done a turnaround. And they came to me and said, look, we want to create an independent ethics committee. Would you serve on it? And I thought, oh God, this is the last thing I want to do. But right around the same time, Richard had just got onto the Housing Authority board, and he was hesitant about doing it. And I said, you really should do it. It's important. We got to do change from within. And he reminded me of that. Well, geez, I got on the Housing Authority board, and you should get on the Water Authority. So I did it, and it's been a good experience. I've been doing it for 2 years now. I'm the chair of their independent ethics committee, and we go over their financial disclosure forms. And they actually have a very good financial disclosure form that they've put together as well. So we've been doing that, and an interesting issue came up there where a complaint was made, and I had to interview the person and look into it, and I got an outside attorney involved so to make sure that it was, not put under the table by anybody internally. So they've been actually great to work with, and I've learned a lot doing it, although I think this will probably be my last year, truthfully. I mean, 3 years of this, I think, is going to be enough, but thanks for bringing it up, Ed.
Very good. That's great, Paul.
I just had a
So,
couple questions. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
no, I said I don't have anything else, so go ahead.
Okay, well, going back to the open government, because I had some questions too. I kind of agree that if not, I didn't know, if 9 of the positions are controlled by the governor, then it's really just an agency for him to speak to us. And there really is no open government. Do they have bylaws? Is there an attendance criteria? Because I've listened to a few of their meetings, and I think the one time the gentleman said, "Oh, I haven't been here in a long time." And is this their full-time job, or do they have other jobs? And do we taxpayers pay for their salaries?
Well,
I guess-
the board are just volunteer board members. They've gotten into some bad habits because for 40 years, Bob Freeman was the one and only executive director they ever had. And Bob was very knowledgeable and a bit arrogant, and he ran the show there. So I think the board kind of let a lot of things slide. I mean, one time I asked Bob, I said, geez, you don't post your meeting agendas. Why not? And there's nothing interesting there. Why would you care? You're the
You're advocating.
Your meeting agendas.
Open government.
He just sloughed me off. And I think he sloughed off a lot of people and got away with it for a long time. But now that he's out, so they have this new executive director, and we called them on it that, look, you don't post your agendas and minutes, and they're just now starting to do some of those things. They have two or three staff people. Those are paid by taxpayer salaries, but the board themselves are volunteer board members. And the state law says, like, one is from the Secretary of State, one's the Lieutenant Governor's office, one's the budget office. So there's specific positions that serve on there. And then the governor has just 5 others that he can appoint, one of which has to be a journalist or some journalism experience. One of them has to be a local elected official. And then the state assembly and state senate make their appointments, but 9 out of the 11 are appointed or controlled by the governor. They don't have bylaws. It's one of the things they're starting to work on now.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. That's one of the things Reinvent Albany said is, look, I think you need to change who gets on this board. And then the law needs to be changed to specify how the executive director gets hired. I mean, none of that's spelled out.
And the other thing that seems to bother me a lot is that I've been on like 3 or 4 of their meetings, and now they're kind of letting us speak. And I don't know if they decided we could speak for 3 minutes or longer, or do we have to email them ahead of time, or whatever the case is. At least they're letting us speak. I guess that's a little progress. And it seemed to me like a couple of them indicated that, oh, they've been doing this for 20 years or 25 years. So are there term limits? And I this being controlled with 9 people, it just seems like it's controlling open government, which is the opposite of what open government should be. And if they don't have bylaws, that means they can do whatever they want. So you appoint somebody from the comptroller's office or lieutenant governor's office, and that person can attend, not attend, show up, not show up, do minutes, do agendas. I think we're doing a good job of saying, hey, we'd like to have an agenda. Hey, we'd like to show up, and hey, we'd like to speak. And you were very good last time. I don't know, it sounded like you were master of ceremonies with the reporter. I signed in a little bit late. I'm like, whoa, they're letting him talk. So I think we just got to keep on pushing because, I always thought that open government at the state level would be like, oh, they could help us with this stuff or help an individual. And it seems like they first saw us as an intrusion. Secondly, when we asked for stuff like, we'd like to speak, they were like aghast. And now I think they're letting us sign on, which is nice because it's so nice when I see open government smiling faces. I see the Vitos, and it's so nice when we get on and we can actually see them. So I think we gotta, how can they operate without bylaws? Is it like against the rules, or they can just?
No, I mean, you don't have to have bylaws, but you should. But the board chair, Franklin Stone, is great. She's very supportive.
She is.
There's an attorney, Dave Schultz, who I think has probably been there longer than anybody. He's actually does open government lawsuits, and he's very supportive. But then there's several appointees that, you know, work for Cuomo, and they're very defensive about criticizing the state or government in response to FOIL in any way. So it's an interesting dynamic because you have a couple people pushing and then a couple people pushing back. So, but
It doesn't seem like a real cohesive group at times. However, the people that are pushing back and supportive of us seem to be very good.
yeah. So we just got to keep on them.
Keep on attending their meetings so they see that we're watching them, I guess.
Yeah. Anything else under new business? I don't know if Dawn Jordan from Bern, New York is still on the line, or if she has anything she wants to say.
I am still here. Thank you. No, I don't have anything to add, but I've enjoyed your meeting and I plan on attending in the future. And I see that you do have a membership, so I will send that in. I got to look on your website how to do that, but I will do that. I appreciate you guys very, very much.
I can send you an email on where to send the check.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, glad you could attend. So our meetings are typically the second Thursday of the month. So our next one would be February 11th at 6:30. So unless we have anything else to talk about, we try to keep them to an hour, and we're well there. So if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn, we'll wrap up unless someone else has something to say.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Is there a second?
second.
Second by Steve. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we'll see you then February 11th. Take care.
Everybody, yep, bye.
Bye, everyone.